Championship Saturday in Reynolds Coliseum, and we start with a Tigers team having won a state title in their only other appearance here for the second time. And for the Wildcats, well, first time they hope is the charm as they make their way into the state championship environment. With that, we do welcome you inside this historic Coliseum alongside my broadcast partner and former Tar Heel here at NC State, Eric Gass, Jason Patterson here. And Eric, that really is the story. First of all, championship environment is back.
Absolutely. You start out in late October, JP, and this is your dream. This is your goal to get to the state championship, and all the hard work you put into it, the community effort, you know, the trainers, the principals, the teachers, everybody puts into this moment for all of these kids.
Well, it comes down to these kids, and we've got some pretty solid players on both sides. Nobody may be more the headliner than Devontae Brooks on that side of things. Yeah,
Devontae Brooks, 6'4", senior. He averages 24 points per game, JP. He is going to be a handful for anybody at 6'4" and power forward and handling the ball like he does. He's going to be an issue.
And as we continue to journey through our West Shore home players to watch, we're keeping an eye on Les Mentor on the other side.
On the other side, that's right. Les Mentor, 6'6" guard, averages 14 points a game, but he has an impact all over. 6 rebounds a game. This young man right here bringing the ball up the court gives anybody issues, JP.
All right, everybody wants to know the answer to this question, and it is our Ingles food for thought. They are your keys to the game. What does it come down to, Eric?
Yeah, for East Randolph, they're going to have to get Brooks the ball, get him going early so he can see the ball going through the hoop. Limit the fouls, okay, the early fouls. And for Wilson Prep, they're going to have to slow down the pace of the game. Eastern Randolph averages, good gracious, 82 points per game, JP, and they have to minimize the runs and limit the turnovers.
Just about ready for action. Over 400 teams on the men's side, over 400 teams on the women's side. Started the year, we're down to 16. One of those, this group out of Eastern Randolph. And here's a look at the myspot.nc.gov starting lineup for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Devontae Brooks, like I said, this young man averages 24 points per game, JP. He's got to get started early. He's got to get hot early.
Let's flip it over, look at the myspot.nc.gov starting lineup for the Tigers.
Yeah, you know, I like number 10, Ellis there. You know, this young man stands at 6'8", and he is going to be a problem on the boards, and that's what they're going to have to do, control the tempo of this game, JP.
Of course, you're watching for how quickly Les Mentor comes off the bench, right? Not in the starting lineup. We have tipped it. We are underway between the Tigers and the Wildcats for the 1A boys title on this Saturday in North Carolina. Quick takeaway, and the ball brought up under the control of Pierce Leonard. There's one of the senior leaders, handful of seniors on this squad they'll rely heavily upon. That's taken away, and here comes Hicks. He'll lay it off the window. First points to the Tigers.
There you go. Control the tempo, JP. They're playing their little up-tempo defense as well, trying to keep Eastern Randolph on the heels, and they're getting another turnover here.
Another takeaway. Hicks pushes that up the floor, and we get contact and a foul before it can be laid home by Jamar Jones. Fast start between these two, just what you would expect with everything that is on the line, and we have our first NC 529 free throws coming. It's never too early, never too late to start saving for education. That's NC 529, and the free throw opportunity belonging to Jamar Jones. He drains the first, and the Tigers off to a 3-0 start.
Yeah, you know, and part of the, keys to the game, JP, was to control the tempo, minimize turnovers, and they've already gotten 2 turnovers, so they are imposing their will upon Eastern Randolph.
Jones drains another. He had 26 in the win over Birdie, the 63-57 win, so he's picked up right where he left off in the semifinals, and hard contact. Probably haven't underscored it yet, but we should. It's going to be a physical afternoon.
Absolutely, and let me tell you something. That is the 3rd turnover, JP. Now, keep in mind that Eastern Randolph comes in this game averaging 82 points per game, and Wilson Prep, they're averaging 71 points a game, meaning their defense is top. Their defense is key, and we're seeing that right now.
Well, a fast start for Wilson Prep, the bucket, and then a couple of made free throws, and a 4-0 run to begin things. We'll see if they are able to extend it here. What do these two coaches have in common, Eric? Both of them, at one point in their careers, were Harlem Globetrotters, now going toe-to-toe against one another for the championship. There's a look at the head man for Eastern Randolph. Jonathan Thomas, of course, officially, but John Thomas, as he was known during his time with the Globetrotters. And guess what? Played here at NC State, so a very familiar environment for him.
Yeah, that's fantastic to have the talented coaches pouring back into these young men. And here's the other Harlem Globetrotter, and Coach Atkinson. That's fantastic.
Led their teams to, in the case of Wilson Prep, 29 victories, and then Of course, on the other side of things for Eastern Randolph, the doorstep of 30 for that crew as well. 3 ball, and it'll go. There's our first West Shore home three-pointer. West Shore home bringing happiness to every home. That brings happiness to the crew supporting the Tigers. They are off to a 7-0 beginning, and it gets a little wild in the middle before it stays with Wilson Prep.
And another turnover, JP. That's something, you know, looking at the keys to the game for Wilson Prep to minimize the turnovers. But you see here that they are turning up the heat, and Eastern Randolph, turning the ball over once again.
There's the kick to Hicks for the first three-pointer of the day, which belongs to Josh Hicks, one of the juniors on this squad. Floating down the lane, front of the iron, all that will be found there. It's been tough sledding in the early going. And, Eric, it's not been as much about the difficulties in the half court for Eastern Randolph as it has been the Wildcats getting to this point where they could run their half-court offense.
That's exactly right. And, something that you want to think about coming into a state championship game, you want to control your the adrenaline, the enthusiasm. You have to control your breathing because initially, you're in this arena and it's just overwhelming sometimes.
Well, Timothy Brower just made sure they can take a deep breath. He finally knocked down a shot that puts Eastern Randolph on the board, and just that quickly, they get the takeaway. So a turnover that sends it right back the Wildcats' direction as they try to battle back from an early 7-0 deficit. But as quickly as they gain possession, they will see it head the other way on the foul call.
And looking at the keys to the game, JP, Eastern Randolph is going to have to manage their fouls, and they got a few early fouls, and it's going to, could have some bearing on this game if key players continue to do that.
A 7-0 run to begin things for the Tigers. They now find themselves up 7-2. Every bit of length needed by David Ellis. He used that 6'8" frame to keep it in control, but in transition, the Wildcats, and that is going to find its way to the corner where it's going to be inbound again.
Sorry, JP. Yeah, that's another quick foul on Julian Brooks, and that's 2 quick ones on the big man, so he's going to have to sit down for a little bit.
Brooks, who came in, finishing up his sophomore campaign, standing at 6'2", player who averaged right at 6 points per contest. Nice feed inside. And the finish just as true. There is David Ellis.
There's a flush by the big man. You want to get him going as well, JP. He's hanging out on that baseline, and he got a 2-hand jam for the fans.
Lead back to its high water mark of 7. That punched away and eventually controlled by Hicks. And stepping on the baseline, it'll stay on this end with Eastern Randolph. How about this, Eric?
And here's a big fella. You like seeing the big fellas getting just enthusiasm and yanking on that rim, JP. When you get him excited, and then the game is going to help you on both ends of the court.
Well, the lights are a little brighter and the court may be a little longer, but that rim is as high as you're accustomed to, right?
That's exactly right. I like the movie Hoosiers where they went and they measured the rim. It's the same 10 feet, so no matter what gym you go into.
When you're dealing with the emotions of this environment, the energy that's in this building, you have to find a way to settle in early. We'll see how long it takes teams all day long to do just that.
That's exactly right, JP. And you have to manage your emotions in this environment because not only are your teammates jacked up, but the fans are as well.
Some of them have been waiting a lifetime to see these colors on this floor in a moment like this. Feisty takeaway for Mekhi Eatman. And they'll love the outcome on the Wilson Prep side of things, and a little extra at the end of this, and our officials, Johnny, on the spot to get right between it. Well, there's that emotion bubbling over a bit.
That's right. That emotion, adrenaline, it's all in your system right now. And these are teenagers, and they're going to have to, be able to control that. And it's hard to do. Here's another turnover for the Tigers.
Newby anticipated. He'll take it in himself and lay it off the glass. Devin Newby, the senior guard, with his first points of the state championship game.
And there's another turnover, JP.
Right, Hicks, and what a start for the Tigers of Wilson Prep as they have built the lead to double digits, and you knew it was coming. Timeout being called for. Coach Thomas and company trying to hit the pause button. And, Eric, they have used the North Carolina Department of Public Safety fast break very effectively so far in this contest.
And they are imposing their will defensively on the Wildcats from Eastern Randolph, and this is the difference in this game so far, JP.
All of our fast breaks in this contest and throughout the day at the North Carolina State Championships brought to you by the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. What do you say if you're in that huddle? More of the same. Keep it up. Don't change a thing. This is as scripted as perfectly as possible thus far for Wilson Prep.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't have drawn it up any better right now. They're up by double digits early on in the game. They're turning over the Wildcats from Eastern Randolph, and you are saying, hey, guys, keep up the pressure. Control the tempo. Make them come to you. And if you're on the other side from Eastern Randolph, coach is going to tell them, hey, guys, let's settle down and do what got us here in the first place. Play our game. Don't panic. Run our press break and get settled into our half-court offense.
You know, Eric, for the Tigers, they started this run against Southside with a 98-point performance. So they can put some up, and they've shown it already here.
They certainly can, and it's important that, Wilson Prep, that they continue that up-tempo defense. And we see now, JP, that they're changing it up, going into a half-court defense. They call them off guard, maybe coming out pressing them, and now they're sitting back into that half-court offense to where now they're going to allow the Wildcats to bring it to them.
This is an Eastern Randolph team. They put up 95 against Cherryville, so once the train gets moving, this is a team that can do some very positive things, but just struggling to find their sea legs in the early going here.
It seems so, JP. And, we're just a little bit through the first quarter. And, right now, Wilson Prep is kind of riding the wave. And I might add that this game is about momentum and it's about runs. And right now, Wilson Prep has been on a huge run, but don't count Eastern Randolph out. They got here for a reason.
We got a couple of different histories when you look at the background for these two schools, but both very physical squads, as you've seen early. This taken away into the hands of Brooks, who's on the move.
On the move, yep.
A little too strong. Now front of the iron on a shot that's short. Second and third chances there for the Wildcats, but they find a lid on the bucket thus far in the contest. That's out of bounds. It'll stay with Wilson Prep. Chance after chance, and you can visibly see the Wildcats fans up on the edge of their seat going, something falls.
Something's got to fall. And if you're Eastern Randolph, eventually it's going to fall, right? You just have to manage those emotions, manage, just the tenseness right now, and know not to force it, but it's going to come to you.
Three ball just a little off the mark from the corner, shot up by Jones. Through traffic, all the way to the rim, and able to lay it home. There is Devontae Brooks.
There he is. He's got to get going. And, JP, once you get this young man, he averages 24 points per game. You get him going, and he sees that ball going through the hoop, you're going to have some problems on your hands.
Came in with 23.6, if you want the specifics on his season thus far. That's his average, and you said it. If he heats up, they find their way right back in the thick of this. But the early advantage belongs to Wilson Prep. Tigers out of the gate quickly in the title contest. Well, this Eastern Randolph squad, known for their football prowess over the years, here for the very first time in a bit of a deficit in the environment, trying to settle in. The one thing that concerns you right now, though, a little bit of foul trouble. 2 fouls already on the combo of Brooks and Taylor. And, Eric, it's as important to keep them on the floor as it is to worry about the deficit right now.
That's exactly right, JP. And, keys to the game, we're talking about that, is not, managing that foul trouble. If you get into it early, then it's going to force you to play your bench. And this is a hostile environment for kids to come off the bench right away.
Well, if you get Devontae Brooks jump-started, you're going to be fine as well. He has the West Shore home 3 on one end of the floor, a quick transition bucket as they do trade 3 for 2 with Wilson Prep coming right back and answering on the other end. And now there's that pestering defense again. This is going to be a foul, though, and it's going to be assessed to Brandon Anderson. The junior picks up the foul as they tried for another one of those what have been trademark takeaways in the early going.
Yeah, they've been turning Eastern Randolph over pretty good, and that's a bit surprising. But when you play an up-tempo, a high-octane offense, JP, you have to take that into account. You're going to turn the ball over a little bit.
5 for Brooks on one side. He'll try to add to that here. And on the other, 5, the leading point total for Hicks there. But you got 4 different scorers already in the scorebook on the Wilson Prep side of things. They've distributed it pretty evenly.
And then I just saw the big man, David Ellis, pull down a rebound on the inside. He's going to make his presence felt and known at 6'8", JP.
Well, you can look out there. I mean, head and shoulders when the eye test is applied. Just a little short on this delivery. Wildcats were able to get Taylor close to the bucket, but he could not finish.
Couldn't finish, yeah, and that'll come. Once again, you got to get your legs under. You have to manage those emotions and that adrenaline and enthusiasm. And once you settle into your game, then we're going to see the true players come out, JP. But right now, Wilson Prep is taking the fight to him.
Little stop and drop it home. Well done for Anderson, who adds to the Wilson Prep total and puts the lead back at 10.
Ooh. Lancy there. Looks like on number 3 on Brandon Anderson again.
And that's 2 he's picked up right away here after we talked about a little bit of foul trouble on the Eastern Randolph side of things. Now you watch it for Wilson Prep. Yeah, you talk about working your way into it. These fans haven't. They came ready to go. And they have been hanging on every dribble of the basketball from the tip-off of this contest. And, you hear the Eastern Randolph faithful every time something happens as loudly as the Tigers despite the score. So kudos to them for filling up this building for the early start on the day.
That's right. Had an unforced error by our player to watch there, Mr. Les Mentor. And, once again, he's coming in off the bench. And, you get fellas that have started or, players that have started. They're in a rhythm. And then you come off the bench. You may be a little cold, have to look at the timing. And, if foul trouble continues, JP, it's going to force, either one of these teams into a zone, right? Because you're playing man and you take a little more risks. But, on both ends of the court, so it may force him into a zone. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, but Mentor's going to be served well. That 6'6" frame is going to serve him well, and he averages 14 points per contest. Lead the way on this squad, as Eric told you, our player to watch in the mix here of late. Boy, that's a nice true stroke. Dropped home by Timothy Brower. A much-needed bucket for the Wildcats.
Yeah, Brower averages about 15 points per game, 6'2" sophomore.
It's going to carry him off into the grasp of William Stalker. Stalker is sophomore forward who pulls down this board.
And now you can kind of see Eastern Randolph settling in, getting their shots that they want, right? Putting Wilson Prep kind of on their heels. But there's another turnover there for Wilson Prep.
Beginning to chip away, and that was a heads-up play underneath to just throw that off of the defenders that were on the baseline. Looked to be Anderson who had the heads-up ability to get the job done, and now Keontae Barron is going to throw it in his direction. Barron, one of the sophomores, one of the youngsters on this roster. Weaving through. Taken away. Who else but Brooks? 2-on-1 as it completes. 2 on nobody. Brooks gets around everybody and lays it home.
Nice for Brooks. Boy, nice ball control. You see the young man, it almost careened off of his leg, but he regained control and finished his play.
And they thought Pierce Leonard was going to have the takeaway here. With this North Carolina Department of Public Safety fast break, you suddenly glance up at the scoreboard, and it is a 6-point game.
And all of a sudden, you're right back in it. That's why you don't panic. You just manage those emotions. And I'm sure these coaches are well aware of that. And they are not going to get over anxious and just telling the kids to play the game.
Fast pace in the 1A title contest. And a quick, smooth shot by Keontae Barron, the sophomore. Down the lane again. Just a little too much on that. As it was back of the iron, it will be out to Wilson Prep.
Yeah, and you can see Devontae Brooks kind of getting in his groove, JP. And he's being subbed out right now. Oh, nope, they're saying he's staying in. Yeah, you want that kid on the floor.
That's a wise decision. Exactly. He has 7 of Eastern Randolph's 11 points thus far.
Yeah, you can see everything runs through him, and back into the game is Julian Brooks for Eastern Randolph, who has those 2 fouls. So he's got to be careful that they don't go at him.
Trap in the corner, plenty of pressure coming from the Wildcats as they've battled back in this thing. And he's going to have to hustle to work it across, and will. Setting up for the 3 ball, won't go for Mentor. Brooks, little touch. Wait, How many times have we seen Brooks? He's sitting there with the 7 points, Eric, but that's got to be about the third time that he's found the back of the iron. It could be a much higher total.
And I'll tell you something, this young man is silky smooth. I mean, that big to be moving that well with the ball and to control his body and then have the wherewithal to get that rebound, he's a smooth operator, that guy.
And if a few of those that are going into the back of the iron right now, maybe with that extra energy that you bring into a state championship game, start to fall, you're looking at monster numbers from number 5.
Oh, yeah, because in big games, big players, they fill their role, JP. And this young man, you can just see it. He's biding his time. He's getting to the basket. And when they start dropping, you're right, he may be right at his average.
It's both of the NC 529 free throws. Never too early, never too late to start saving for education. Never too early to make those free throws count either. And he did right there. Another contested pass. It's out of bounds. It'll stay with the Tigers.
So, yeah, now Eastern Randolph, they're starting to settle into it, JP, right? They're finding the groove, the rhythm. They came out, and, Wilson Prep, turned up the heat on them with the full court pressure. And now they're back into the half-court game, and now they're finding their zone.
That was from the college line.
That was well behind the college line.
Inside, top of the key, that rolls off. Eventually into the grasp of the Wildcats.
Almost another turnover.
Guess who cleans it up? Brooks could not beat the horn. Tried to run his total into double figures had he made that bucket, but he could not beat the horn. The lead for Wilson Prep, 6. You have to credit Eastern Randolph with battling back. First quarter in the books. Welcome back to Reynolds Coliseum. Time to take a glance at our U.S. Army first quarter stats. Be all that you can be in the U.S. Army. GoArmy.com. These two teams were.
I tell you something. I'm looking at these stats, and those 9 steals from by Wilson Prep. That's the difference in this game so far, right? And the rebounds, Eastern Randolph, they're pounding the boards.
As we flip over to our Riddle and Brantley points in the paint, you see the split. Wilson Prep with an advantage there as well.
Yeah, and I have no doubt it's because of big David Ellis on the inside is controlling the tempo, getting those second chance looks.
Call Riddle and Brantley when justice counts. Those are Riddle and Brantley points in the paint and our U.S. Army stats from a first period that saw a 6-point lead in the end built by Wilson Prep. Here's a 3-ball from the corner. Drained. Timothy Brower has 7. Brooks has 9. They're responsible for all 16 for Eastern Randolph. Their fan base will erupt again as they get the player control foul on the other end of the floor. But here's a look at the 3-ball.
Yeah, nice dish by number 4, Leonard. And that was nice. Almost a no-look pass in the corner.
So both ends of the floor kind. And then a big-time swat from David Ellis.
That was a volleyball block, JP. He went up with 2 hands, almost like it was a dunk. Yeah, nice block by the big man. Once again, Ellis stands at 6'8" in the middle.
You're telling me go ahead and pull the net out right here on the Wolfpack logo, right? They know a little bit about playing that in this building. Turns this direction. Somehow gathered back up. And a nice recovery as Julian Brooks, who picked up those early couple of fouls, now has himself in the scorebook. Don't look now. That big lead Wilson Prep built, it's gone. A 1-point basketball game.
1-point game, and that's why you tell your kids don't panic. You know, this is about runs and gaining that momentum. And yeah, right now Eastern Randolph imposing their will on the defensive end.
Wildcats suddenly contesting everything.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a 7-0 run to begin the game, and they led by double figures toward the midway point of the first quarter. This Tigers team looking for their second championship in as many appearances all time. Different story now. These two teams separated in the 1A title game by just 1, and that is gathered up by Brooks, Julian Brooks that is, and he hands it off to his ball handler, Pierce Leonard.
Yeah, Leonard, you can see he's a floor general. He's not panicking either, still going at him, and he's kind of imposing their will.
There's another of those deliveries that hits the back of the iron. I got to ask you something when we get a stoppage here, Eric. May be a moment, though. Yeah. Out front, Julian Brooks. He stops, needs a little help. That's rejected, and then it will be Wilson Prep basketball. Boy, some points were there for the taking that were left on the table by the Wildcats that time around. Got to ask you something. The two things that you discuss when you talk about the new environment for these high school players, the length of the floor of a college gym and the depth perception of the new building. You wonder if depth perception plays into some of those shots being just a little long.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because usually in a high school gym, there's a wall right behind the goal, or not as much distance here, and it does play with you a little bit. But once again, these young men, they're finding their range, JP.
Well, and there was no problem with depth perception on that end of the floor for Hicks, right? Knocks down that three, and I don't know if they think they got to hit it from behind the college line, but they're working from behind the college line so far today.
Maybe they're trying to earn a scholarship. These coaches can see that they can do that.
Beautifully laid in there for Devontae Brooks to drive it home. He will. And we are staying within about a bucket right now between these two teams. The jam. There is David Ellis. He has continued to elevate in this first half.
That fella's rattling the rim, JP. He loves it. And you want to feed the big fella. Man, give it to him every time going down so he can go at number 10, Brooks, who has 2 fouls already. And I'm sure they know this, and they're going to exploit that.
Rattled home from distance. There's another of those West Shore home three-point baskets. They'll trade 2 for 3 all day long, even if it is allowed to.
All day long and twice on Saturday, JP.
I'll say this, just 6 points thus far for Ellis on that end of the floor, but they have been 6 loud points for Ellis. That's taken back, and we get the whistle. And it's gonna be a foul against Brooks as he tried to contest that inbound.
Yep, got to manage those fouls, JP. Got to manage those fouls.
24-23. And that thrown out of bounds, and that is a major
he went down
collision down there. He fell after landing initially on the table, but hey, it's a state championship game. Pops right back up and ready to go again.
The joy of youth, JP. Look, but you talk about the hustle. He's laying it all on the line, and he kind of skated across that table there. If that happened to one of us, JP, they'd have to call in the ambulance, but this young man got it.
We'll see you next week.
That's right.
He's ready for the next play. A whistle again as another touch foul. That goes against Jamar Jones. Now, keep an eye on this. Jamar Jones having just picked up his 3rd personal foul on the Wilson Prep side of things. So for all that early foul trouble we talked about with Eastern Randolph, there's suddenly some concerns on the Tigers side of things.
Oh, yeah. Because, you only get, we're not in the NBA, you only get 5 in high school, and those things are valuable. And in a game like this, you want to look at it. I use this terminology in golf. It's not how you drive, but it's how you arrive. And, you're going to start out, come down to the end game in the 4th quarter, JP, that's when these fouls are going to play a very important role.
Hardy's free throws go down. There's a Timothy Brower free throw adds to the total, but boy, is the answer crew on the other end. Here come the Wildcats. Ran into a brick wall, somehow kept it alive. Trying to time it underneath his Brooks. Devontae Brooks will at least time it to draw contact.
Yeah, oh yeah, and that's how you get them. You get a head fake or a pump fake, you get up in the air, and then you go up, JP, and he's going to hit 2, and this young man is responsible for the vast majority of their points, and Brooks is showing why, right? He's one of the players to watch at almost 24 points per game.
And you think about it on the other side. We talk about how Brooks, as they go back to the Hardy's free throw line to try to add to the total, pull within 1 here. You look at 12 points for Brooks, who we continue to talk about. You look at the 8 points for Brower. You flip over on the other side for Wilson Prep, Eric. 4 different scorers, nobody more than 8 points. A very different way of getting to 25 or 26 in this case on both sides now, points in the game.
Yeah, and, even or equal distribution on the side of Wilson Prep. They may on the defensive end think about doubling up on Brooks down there to kind of settle him down, see if they can stretch his lead up. Because right now we're tied, JP.
Yeah, he has 13 of his 23 on average, right at 24 when you round it up on the year. That's an NBA 3 of no consequence as it is drilled home by Les Minter Jr. He's ready to go now.
Yes, he is, the big fella.
Underneath, put up by Norwood, and eventually outlet pass for the Tigers.
They're running early.
Transition bucket, rattles
There's
out.
Ellis again.
He's there to put it back, uses his size to an advantage every trip down the floor.
This young man averages a double-double, JP, 13 points a game and 10 rebounds every single game. That's pretty impressive.
Well, we're back within a single possession on that little floater toward the lane. What's good for one, good for the other, as these teams have traded buckets throughout this second period. A little too much on that from Minter Jr. Somehow gathered up to create another shot opportunity, but eventually Brower will carry it out of there. And he'll see it roll right into that bench area, a turnover. And when we come back to Raleigh, North Carolina, when you come back to Raleigh, North Carolina, it'll be Wilson Prep basketball with a 3-point lead. Contest, but the one thing they're trying to figure out how to do right now, Eric, and that's slow Devontae Brooks. He leads everybody with 15.
Yeah, he's the go-to guy. The offense goes through him, and you have to find a way to slow him down. You're not going to stop him, but just try and slow him down a little bit. You may want to try and wear him out a little bit on the offense or defensive end.
This three falls, but it will be waved off. No West Shore home three-pointer this go-round. Stepped on the sideline just before taking the shot.
Yeah, one of those unforced turnovers that you don't really plan for. You hate them when they happen, but you have to adjust when they do.
A little more space on the floor, but not quite enough to keep that one in bounds. And under 3 minutes to go in the opening half. What a competitive first half of basketball inside Reynolds Coliseum. You're going to play in Reynolds, you got to play a tight one, right? And you got to make shots like that. Pierce Leonard with a bucket.
Yeah, for Eastern Randolph to keep it this close after being down by double digits, JP, that's got to be a win. There's Brooks leading the break.
Looks out front. Taylor. The foul is going to be on Pierce Leonard. Or check that. It's going to be on for Les Minter Jr. And you're going to see Taylor head to the Hardy's free throw line here. He knocks down the first. Well, we are closing in on the United Health Center's halftime report. Special interview with the commissioner of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. First half highlights, all that and more. The United Health Center's halftime report, building healthier communities, coming up about 2.5 from now. We don't know who's going to have the lead at the break.
That's right. Eastern Randolph has taken the lead.
Just inside that college three-point line, it rolls off. But a recovery for Anderson to disrupt.
Globetrotter-like handles. This young man is dribbling through traffic. That's an awesome display of ball control for Brooks as he's going down the court.
You know, he's going to make his coach very happy, right? Harlem Globetrotter Johnny Hawk Thomas, as he was known during his globetrotting days, will be very pleased with what he sees from this young man. And that is going to roll down and in for the Hardy's free throw. Well, and you make a case for perhaps being a part of the play of the game, which we will select for you before the day is done. Start the conversation. Reduce underage drinking. That's the Talk It Out NC Challenge. And they'll be the sponsors of our play of the game coming up in the fourth quarter. Long three. Just short.
Yeah, I love it. He's never seen a shot he didn't like.
And a foul before this is tossed up. That's going to go against Taylor. And Taylor now in some major foul trouble all of a sudden.
I believe that was Josh Hicks, number one.
Oh, they're going to go against Hicks.
I think it's going to go against Hicks. Yep.
And Taylor to the line as he works his way there for the Hardy's free throws. That's why we got you here. You got to keep the play-by-play guy in line on almost every possession. This knockdown for the Hardy's free throw. Give him credit as Taylor continues to build upon his productive day. 4 points already as he knocks down the first of a couple of chances here. And the junior will see this rim off. Guess who's there to rebound it? Ellis.
The big fella Ellis. I love it. I love it. He's on those boards on both ends.
Coming baseline. Well, in disbelief is Norwood. He thought he was straight up and down, but he gets whistled for the contact.
It's almost like in football, the offensive linemen, as soon as they hold and then they let go, their hands go up, you know?
Well, it's interesting that you bring up football, and I know you're a football guy, but you think about the football success of the Wildcats of Eastern Randolph over the years. Now they're trying to add some basketball success to that in this, their first ever trip to the state championship
Fantastic.
game.
And, with all things being equal, JP, Eastern Randolph, they average 82 points per game, and Wilson Prep 71. And we see here, Wilson Prep is almost at their halftime average. They're at 35 right now and taking over the lead by 2 against Wilson Prep.
And I'm not going to brush over what you just said without underscoring it. They lead this basketball game. After withstanding that early run from Wilson Prep, it is the Wildcats out front right now. And a double dribble is going to be called that will send it the other way. Well, also, before the conclusion of this contest, we will have our player of the game, brought to you by myspot.nc.gov. And we got a couple of strong candidates, one certainly that is head and shoulders above on the Eastern Randolph side right now.
That's right, Mr. Brooks. He's making his case, and he probably will not come out of the game at all during this game. As, when we saw a sub coming in, he was headed toward the sideline, and he was like, no, you stay. The other guy comes out.
I'm going to tell you, David Ellis didn't necessarily have positioning there, but what he did have, every bit of that 6'8" frame. And down the lane goes Mentor Jr. It is not to be. Cleaned up by Anderson. And it's still Tigers basketball.
I tell you, this is another young fella. As soon as he walks into the gym, he is in range. That's a 3 by Mentor.
Mentor able to knock down the West Shore Home three-pointer. West Shore Home, America's most admired home remodeling brand. And Anderson picks up the assist on that 3-ball. Trying one of his own from down in the corner is Connor Carter. That won't go. And we get a whistle in front of that Tigers bench on the far side. All right, final 15 seconds of the opening half here.
Oh, yeah, you just, if you're, Wilson Prep, you want to settle for one shot, right? I mean, you're not gonna press it. You have the lead by 1 point right now, so you're just gonna settle for your one shot, right? Well, sorry, Wilson Prep, Eastern Randolph. You're not down by much, so you're gonna just take your time and run your offense and try and knot it up before half.
Well, and the chance to continue the scoring with the clock stopped for Wilson Prep, and Eatman takes advantage. The senior forward, Makai Eatman, who to this point had not placed his name in the scorebook, has a point thus far, and he will not connect on the second. Here's that possession you were talking about.
That's right. You don't need a 3. You just want to see the ball go through the hoop. You're going to have to start pressing it now. You look at the side. Oh, and he got fouled.
Shooting a 3, and he's going to go to the line to perhaps carry the lead into the locker room.
With 3 seconds. That drives you crazy as a coach. You like the defense. You like the, up in your face, but you want to give him room on that 3-pointer not to foul him, to give him those 3 freebies.
Brower to the line. He has 8 points. If he can make a couple of these, he'll be in double figures. And here's the contact.
Yeah, you just, you go in, you may be down 1 if they hit that 1 or 2. You don't want to give them that freebie. And plus, it's another foul on him.
Brower, a 62% free throw shooter. He made 81 of 130 across the course of the season. He makes the first, or misses the first, makes the second, can't connect on the third. The putback won't go, and time expires. That right into the scoreboard atop Reynolds Coliseum. It's of little consequence. Wouldn't have counted anyway. What does count, this tight contest. These two 1A combatants separated by a single point at the intermission. We got the halftime report coming up for you right after the break.
High-quality health care regardless of insurance status.
How's it going, everybody? I'm Nelson Weston. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the state championship high school basketball games. Who better to join us than our long-standing good friend from Ingalls Markets, Melissa Neville. Melissa, always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
So happy to be here with you. It's championship day.
It's championship day indeed. And speaking of which, now in Ingalls Market, y'all provided robust community support, not just for right now, but also for a long, long time now. What inspires y'all to want to frequently get back to high school athletics?
Well, this is our community, and these students are our children and the children of our shoppers. And we do this in a community sense for everything. So we live, work, and shop in these same communities where our stores are. So we're really enriching our whole community by being part of all the things that matter to the families that shop with us.
That is terrific work indeed. Speaking of the community and the students, you guys are also famous for y'all's remarkable Tools for Schools program. What is that program all about? And furthermore, how can the good folks at home get started with it today?
Well, the program is designed to help teachers, classrooms, students, and principals get school supplies in the classroom to the students and not have to take that money out of their own pocket and bring this to the school. Easy as pie to get in. Go get your Ingalls Advantage card, link it to the school of your choice. Every time you shop, you're helping that school.
Speaking of pie, you know, I'm getting hungry as we speak. Today is game day. What are some of those delicious food items we can pick up from the Ingalls Deli today?
Oh, right. Well, first roll in and get your fuel so you're on your way to the game, and then get a sub and some fried chicken. Eat on your way.
Sounds delicious indeed. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. All right, folks, time to get back to the game. We'll see you soon.
You're watching the United Health Center's halftime report. High quality health care regardless of insurance status.
Here with North Carolina High School Athletic Association Commissioner Q. Tucker. Commissioner Tucker, state championship weekend is always exciting.
Yes, it is a big week for us. It's one of those weeks we look forward to every year about this time, and it's hard to believe that we are sitting on the edge of crowning state champions.
What goes into the preparation for such a large state championship?
The closer we get to seeing who the actual participants are, then we start to look at the times and start to look at ticket allocations and how all of that works, especially now that we're into this age of digital ticketing, just making sure that all the schools know how to inform their participants, et cetera.
We've seen headlines this year indicating numerous behavior issues across the state. How have you addressed those concerns?
I don't anticipate that we'll see that this weekend, because this is like the cherry on top of the basketball season. And so everyone really should be about playing at their best level. And then what we want the spectators to do, because that seems to be where the issues have arisen this year, spectators feeling as though that ticket I bought gives me the right to just do anything I want to in the stands or in the bleachers, or say whatever I want to. So we'll have messages that announcements that will be made on Saturday to try to address some of that and hopefully stem that kind of behavior that could occur.
What are the ongoing challenges facing the association?
Jane, we still deal with this whole issue of declining numbers in officiating. We had a committee last summer who studied the situation here in North Carolina, and one of the things that came out of the board meeting was to give a pay increase across the board to all officials. So as we address that, we're trying to do creative things. One of the things that we do is that any new official who says, hey, I want to join the officiating ranks, then we waive some of those registration fees. We're looking at trying to come up with an opportunity for our officials to perhaps get some grant monies to be able to help, let's say, in terms of educational development. We try to address health and safety, mental health issues. All of those are on the table. So we have just a myriad of opportunities, I'll say, to make a difference in the lives of all of the students who participate in our program. And we think education-based athletics is still the best thing going. It's the best dropout prevention program there is. And we just continue to dig our heels in and try to do everything we can.
We appreciate your time, Commissioner Tucker, and thank you for everything you do for high school sports.
Watching the United Health Center's halftime report. High quality health care regardless of insurance status.
What a competitive first half of action between Wilson Prep and Eastern Randolph. Two teams hungry for a title. This Wilson Prep team trying to get it done for just the second time, and we've told you, first time around for an Eastern Randolph squad wanting to carry title back to the land of the Wildcats, something that has never happened in this sport before, even though they've had tremendous success in other sports. And, Eric, when you reflect upon the first half of action and the sights and sounds we're about to show, as competitive as you could imagine.
Oh, yeah, it has not disappointed. Wilson Prep came out and they imposed their will. They simply impressed their defensive prowess on them and turned them over quickly and got to a quick double-digit lead. And then Eastern Randolph, they came back and settled in. But you saw Wilson Prep come out and impose their will on them.
Whole lot of Hicks, and then obviously you're going to see a tremendous amount of Mr. Brooks in this package.
Absolutely. This young fella is leading all scorers with 17, and he's silky smooth. And once you see him kind of get going, he loves to see the ball go through the basket. You want to get him that way, and look at him. He's just smooth. He handles the ball really well, and it's going to be an exciting second half for him.
17 points, went 5 of 13, so could have been much higher. He had a number of buckets that were right there, just didn't quite fall. You look at the overall numbers. These are our United States Army first half stats. Be all you can be in the U.S. Army. GoArmy.com, where you can find out more. What jumps off the stat sheet?
Yeah, they look pretty even. Initially, in the first quarter, the turnovers were lopsided. Wilson Prep, was kind of up, and it led to that double-digit lead. But, Eastern Randolph came back, and they settled in. And you see here, rebounds are about even. Points off of turnovers. Wilson Prep is leading them slightly, which is one of the keys to the game that they had to do.
We will continue with our 2023 North Carolina High School Athletic Association State Championships and our broadcast presented by myspot.nc.gov right after the break. Second half coming up. One-point game as we are set to begin the third quarter. Much of the good work being done inside for both these teams. And maybe somewhat of a surprise that Wilson Prep has such an advantage there when you consider the way Brooks plays in the interior.
Yeah, and you have big Ellis there for Wilson Prep, who, standing at 6'8", is controlling the inside as well. He's got 8 rebounds total. But, yeah, they have been capitalizing on those points in the paint, JP.
That's the Riddle and Brantley points in the paint. Riddle and Brantley, when justice counts, sponsoring our points in the paint throughout the day. How about the early stages of this third quarter? Coaches talk about this as such a critical stretch coming out of the locker room. What are you watching here? Yeah, you want to set the tone, right? Just like how Wilson Prep came out and set the tone defensively and turned the Eastern Randolph over. You want to kind of do the same thing as you're coming back out the second half, because it can get on you quick if you don't. Foul is on Devontae Brooks. And that's obviously the first whistle of the half. And you want to also keep an eye on what does that mean for Brooks. Well, he picks up his second personal in the process. And the rebound away to who else but Devontae Brooks. Finds a way to elude the defenders. It stays on this end, still won't fall. Mindful of the first half start.
Oh, to the big fella Ellis.
Ellis disrupted just enough, but he'll hang in there, put it back, tries the tip, goes up on the right side, and would not be denied.
And comes down smiling, the big fella dominant on the inside. That's what you like seeing from those big guys down there as they get going in the second half.
Well, and Eric, he was playing catch with himself on the rim. He won't be able to get a hold of this, though. Laid home first by Pierce Leonard, and just like that, Eastern Randolph in the scorebook for the second half. Disruption, right back to where it came from after the return to sender. Speaking of return to sender, somehow that comes back down into the hands of Hicks, but only momentarily, as here come the Wildcats. Chased down by Leonard. He'll take a three. Too strong. And the rebound to the Tigers.
Yep, look at that depth perception. That we had a good look at that, JP, and you got to get your sea legs under you again as you come back out in the second half.
Sea legs definitely underneath Josh Hicks. Drains the West Shore home three. Wilson Prep, not quite the spurt we saw from them at the start of the game, but still a solid beginning to this third quarter.
Yeah, for Wilson Prep, you saw Brandon Anderson. He played every minute of that first half. And you see the big fella only played 15 minutes, just 1 minute less. But looking up at Eastern Randolph, and you have Leonard and Brooks, Devontae Brooks played every single. They didn't come out at all in that first half. And so you can also, maybe look at that and see if fatigue sets in, JP.
I got a question for you. Why would they? You think about the way they played in that first half. Speaking of, he earns a trip to the line right here. The leading scorer in this contest on both sides with 17. You know, Hicks has quietly worked his way to 13 on the other side already as we wade into the third quarter. First of those Hardy's free throws goes down for Devontae Brooks. If you missed it in the open, he averages 23.6 points per contest. And as Eric told you, they keep him in that green and gold on the floor as much as possible. In transition, here comes Jones.
Yeah, he's not coming out.
Makes contact with Jones here. That's actually going to be called, it would appear, on the Wildcats Leonard. It's going to be on Pierce Leonard, the senior. So both Leonard and Brooks colliding with the ball handler, but it'll be on Leonard, and the first of the Hardy's free throws comes off there. One more remaining. Jones, who has 4 points to this juncture in the game. And here come the Wildcats. In front of the bench now, on which Jonathan Hawk Thomas, the former Globetrotter, is coaching. After a whistle, they'll head down to the other end where Wilson native and former Globetrotter Anthony Atkinson is located.
I think they
and that is going to be a...
Is that on Brooks or is it on number 55?
If it's on Brooks, it's his third. It looks like it's going to go against Norwood, though. Yeah. So that's good news on the other side. The bad news, still his third.
That's right.
To the corner.
And the big fella, he takes up space in the middle. He's putting that body on Ellis, right? And they're trying to control a big fella on the inside. But, you know, Ellis at 6'8", it's hard to keep a tall man down, that's for sure.
Still just a couple of fouls on Brooks, but as we said, 3 now having been picked up that direction. And then you consider on the other side, as this is thrown away, we'll stay on this end, that there are 3 fouls to the account of both Minter Jr. and to the account of Jones. So you're checking foul trouble on both sides, and we're still early in the third quarter.
Oh, yeah, and that will play a role in the game. Maybe that's why Minter is still, you know, on the sidelines right now. You have to control that because he gets in foul trouble, then it's going to be trouble for the team.
Stays on this end, but that's going to be player control. So the call this go-round against David Ellis, and it'll be Wildcats basketball.
I think that's his first, so, you know, no need to panic. He's just trying to create a little space for himself, the big fella. That's all it is.
Somewhat amazing, as much as he has been in the thick of things in the interior, that's the first whistle that was charged to his account on this day. But speaks to how solid he's been when he's in possession of the basketball. Transition bucket there for the taking. Ooh, and he lays it off the glass and will go to the line.
That was huge.
Jones showing every bit of his athletic ability on this drive.
Look at him. He's taking it the full length of the court. He knew he was getting in. That's almost, you see that body control? It kind of reminds me of football. Odell Beckham Jr., the one-handed catch. He's falling down. He kisses it off the glass. Great play.
A vintage North Carolina Department of Public Safety fast break connected on for Jamar Jones. He has 7 and able to add 1 at the charity stripe. Here come the Wildcats.
Yep, nice body control by the young fella.
Jones with 8, Hicks with 13, and a couple of other players, and Ellis and Minter also with 8. Taken away, straight taken away by Hicks, and then out top, and that is going to be Devontae Brooks, as he is called for the touch foul right on that Wolfpack logo. For Brooks, he picks up another of those fouls of the third variety now alongside Norwood with a trio charged to his account. So you got 2 players now on each side of consequence who are both going to be playing with 3 fouls for a long while.
Yeah, so that means you're changing your game plan now, JP, because you're going to have to protect those guys. And we'll see here playing out the same thing that happened in the first quarter. Wilson Prep is jumping out to a lead. They're turning them over. They're turning up the pressure on defense, and they're capitalizing on the other end. And so they're stretching that lead, be it ever so slightly, to a 7-point lead right now.
Well, a number of plays in the early part of this third quarter that certainly qualify for the play of the game. Have we seen it yet? Who knows? We will have the Talk It Out NC play of the game coming up at the conclusion of our contest. Start the conversation. Reduce underage drinking. That's the challenge from Talk It Out NC, and they are the sponsors of our play of the game. Well, two coaches, we talked about it a little bit in the first half, who have certainly put together memorable plays in their own career. We mentioned Hawk Thomas, as he was known during his Globetrotter days. On the other side, for the Wilson Prep team that is out front right now, a Wilson native, went to the Greenfield School, then to Barton College, where he was Hall of Fame quality for Barton College. After that, in 85 different countries, represented the Harlem Globetrotters as they bring joy to so many. And two former Globetrotters, if you missed it in the first half, patrolling these benches on this night. And that's a Globetrotter moment right there on cue. Hung up in between the rim and the backboard. But it speaks to their love for making a difference in the lives of others, as well as their basketball skills, Eric, that they can look across at one another and know they both traveled around the world, sharing and spreading the joy this great game provides.
You're right. Now they're imparting their wisdom to the next generation, and both of these teams are well coached. You know, we see the guards that have excellent ball handling skills. They're running their offense. They're not panicking, and it's a joy to watch these teams.
One of them going to add a state championship to the resume on this Saturday. Taken away by Wilson Prep, 2-on-1, and he'll take it himself. Jamar Jones, the senior, lays it in. It's like he's done it before.
That's right. Jones making his case for player of the game, and there he is on the other end, Mr. Brooks.
Remember me.
That's right.
Devontae Brooks adding to his total as he now has 20, the first to reach the 20-point threshold just as quickly. We get a whistle, which will be our media timeout. 7-point lead having been built by Wilson Prep mid-third quarter. Tar Roanoke 1A, the home of Wilson Prep, and they carry a 7-point lead into the middle stages of this third period. The early spurt in the first half matched, by the way. They came out of the locker room here to begin the second half, the reason Wilson Prep is out front.
Yeah, and you know, they're not rattled. They're playing their game. They're getting their shots. And that young man, Jamar Jones, is throwing his name in the hat, JP, for player of the game. He's, you know, had that magnificent body-controlled layup to get the and one and hit it from the corner there.
Has a West Shore home three-pointer. West Shore home bringing happiness to every home. He's brought a lot of happiness to homes that are in support of this Wilson Prep squad. When you consider now has 13 tied for the team lead. How about the elevation to get to the hoop here, the bucket, and a chance for three the old-fashioned way coming Mekhi Eatman's direction.
Yeah, so here he is. Once again, they're taking the fight to him, JP, and imposing their will, and great ball control, ball handling skills, and he finishes the play.
Well, it took him a while to get there, but no whistle until the contact was provided at the end of that play. He will go to the Hardee's free throw line for an and one chance. And for Eatman, he now has 4 points in the basketball game. He's one of 7 different scorers in this contest for Wilson Prep.
And just like that, JP, the lead is stretched out again.
Not for long.
Not for long.
Down in the corner, a 3-ball for Connor Carter. But the follow here will bring down the rafters at Reynolds.
Look at him. Look at Ellis, man. He's fired up. You love seeing the big fella fired up and pumping. And Wilson Prep right now, JP, they're saying this game is ours. We're taking over.
If you wondered about it, they had to open up a few extra tickets in the midweek at a sold-out Reynolds Coliseum. They've been entertained to the tune of moments like this.
You love seeing the big fella running the court, and he gets rewarded with the two-handed jam, JP. You got to love it. And you see him going down the court, and he's, I don't know if they call it the Hulk or whatever, but he's like, yeah, now it's clobbering time.
Matched his jersey number. He's now in double figures with 10 with that latest dunk. And a foul is going to be called. And you see Devontae Brooks beside himself. Now, he and Brower were both there. And it looks as if the foul is going to be assessed to Brower, but Devontae Brooks thought they had a clean takeaway there.
My. You talk about dodging the bullet, JP. You get 4 fouls in the middle of the third, or toward the end of the third quarter, and you're going to have to sit for a while. And this is the young man, Brooks, who's played every second.
Would have been a 4th on him. Instead, it's just a 1st on Brower. And speaking of Brower, he's going to pull down the rebound.
Coach Thomas breathed a sigh of relief right there.
Brower tries to go coast to coast, and he'll draw contact on the other end. This time the recipient of the trip.
Ooh, that's on number 4.
So the Hardy's free throw line. You said it. Just when you talk about the potential for 4 on one end, you get it here. And Minter, who did not start, but is that key player and leader off the bench who averages 14 per contest, he now is in precarious situation.
4 fouls, JP. That's he's going to have to sit down for a little while. Yeah, because you don't want to lose him this early in the game. But, yeah, coach is subbing in for him now. That is absolutely huge.
Minter departs with 8 points, though he's 2 of 10 from the field, has a couple of key threes in this basketball game already. And we will see if Eastern Randolph can make some hay while he is over on the sideline here.
Yeah, they're going to have to, JP, because we probably won't see him until midway through the 4th quarter. Probably won't see him again.
Timeout being called. Wilson Prep gathering up around their head coach. All right, Eric, you've been in these state championship environments. You won one over at the Dean Dome with your brother, no less, in those old Hendersonville squads. Take us inside the conversation of the huddle when there's a lot of basketball left, but you do find yourself in a good spot if you're Wilson Prep.
Yeah, if you're Wilson Prep, you know, because like I said, at the beginning of the game, quarter 1, they imposed their will. They created turnovers, you know, with Eastern Randolph. And right now, we're seeing that same pattern play out. But they have one of their stars, you know, the player to watch and mentor. He's on the bench for, you know, like I said, probably midway through the through the 4th quarter. And so the coach is saying, listen, fellas, calm down. We keep doing what we're doing. Keep up that defensive pressure. Get the big fella Ellis continuing to crash the boards, and they are going to make his presence felt, because right now he's going to have a mismatch in the middle, and Brooks is going to have to keep his eye on him to help out as well.
And if you could guess what the conversation was like from the first-year head coach of the Wildcats, who's led them all the way to the state on a very quick turnaround, what do you think his conversation was with his team as they watch Wilson Prep battle to lay one home? What do you think he said?
Yeah, he's telling them you got to hit the boards right now. You know, right now it looks like they have their small lineup in. Of course, Brooks is still in there, so they're not going to be as strong on the boards. And as I say that, they get the rebound. But he's going to tell them, you know, keep our game up. We fought back like we did in the first half.
Don't discount the little guys. They've quickly worked their way around you. They may not have that size, but they're showing that speed advantage. And then Timothy Brower, think about what we just saw on that last sequence. Then you see Hicks, who puts in the latest of the West Shore home three-pointers on the Wilson side of things. You see the answer on the other end of the floor. Here's now Wilson with a bucket, quickly up the floor with it to Connor Carter. Too strong, but there with the follow is Devontae Brooks.
There's Brooks, and you know, right now, Wilson Prep has the advantage on the inside, and so they're going to have to feed the big fella Ellis on the inside. But coach is telling you got to get back on defense as well.
Punch and counter punch right now. That is going to be is that a third personal on Leonard? It is. He picks up a third, so now you got a trio of key performers on the Eastern Randolph side of things who find themselves in some major trouble here, foul-wise.
Yeah, you're going to have to slow it down a bit if you're Eastern Randolph. But right now with this small lineup in, you're going to have to push the pace in order to get these big fellas run up and down the floor, especially Ellis. You know, his coach Atkinson, was telling Ellis, look, you got to get back down the floor. And so Eastern Randolph is going to try and beat him up and down the court.
You know what we haven't talked about yet? Made from scratch biscuits, charbroiled, black Angus beef thick burgers. It's the Hardy's free throw line. Don't worry, we'll give you a gap in between games today. We'll give you a gap in between games today to make sure you can stop by Hardy's. Contact out front, and a foul is called as the pressure was applied by Josh Hicks. And everybody picking up a third foul all of a sudden.
Yep, those fouls are mounting.
Hicks with his third. Down in the corner. And nothing but air that time. Contact not available.
Good ball handling skill.
Well, that was really nice to weave through. Shot in the corner. Connected on. How important is it to keep him on the floor? He reminds you with the West Shore home three.
And here comes Brooks down, taking a shot, and they're going to have to hit the boards. But right now, they don't have the size on the inside. They're getting one trip at it.
A third quarter that has belonged to Wilson Prep, and number 3 lays home the latest bucket. Brandon Anderson takes the lead to 14 inside the final minute of the third.
And keep in mind, in that first quarter, they pulled out to an 11-point lead. I think it was, 13-2 or something like that. And so we're seeing that same pattern play out.
The three ball has been the answer. It is one more time. Timothy Brower pulling his Wildcats a little closer.
Yep, he averages 15 points a game and letting his presence be known. Looking up in the stands, getting some encouragement from the fans with just under 16 seconds to play, JP.
How many did you say he averages?
15 points per game.
Already has 17 here.
There you go. Players play. The big players play in big moments, JP, and that's what we're seeing now.
They find a way to reach a little deeper when it matters most. Create some space, but can't knock the shot down, and nothing will go up before the horn sounds. What did go up? Wilson Prep's lead. They used the third quarter to build an advantage that the Tigers, looking for a second title all time, will carry into the fourth. U.S. Army statistics through the third quarter of action. Be all you can be in the Army. GoArmy.com providing our stats. All right, Eric, what do you see?
What jumps out to me, those fast break points by Wilson Prep. 19-4, which shows they're hitting the boards and they're getting it out, and they're getting it out fast. And, you know, they're 7 of 19 from the three-point line, so they're both about the same there. But Wilson Prep, that's the difference maker right now.
Yeah, they have used that North Carolina Department of Public Safety fast break to their liking. There are the Riddle and Brantley points in the paint. And what a sizable advantage for Wilson Prep in that category.
Yep, and you see the big fella right there, David Ellis. He's controlling the paint.
Has a double-double already having been secured in this contest. They're going to call this traveling, not really any way to avoid that, as you were just trying to corral the basketball, but it will be Eastern Randolph with possession. Just under 8 minutes remaining in the 1A boys basketball season. What do you expect to see here?
Here we go. I expect to see all-out effort, you know, like we've been seeing all game. And we're going to, you know, with 5 minutes, you know, and less, I call that the end game, JP. You're going to see that strategy starting to come to play. And right now, Eastern Randolph is trying to run their offense, getting their set. And, you know, Wilson Prep wants to keep them out on the perimeter.
Boards cleaned by Eatman. He looks up front, has a man there, but disruption provided by Taylor. What a recovery by Taylor.
Yeah, it's all or nothing right now. You know, you have to get up and down the floor, you know, on both ends, JP, because, you know, your high school career for these seniors, this may be the only time they play in an arena like this.
How about the feed? Boy, that did not fall, but it shows you how versatile a player David Ellis is. He found the open man.
The break being led. Oh.
And one. Devontae Brooks. He drew the contact. Maybe drew it up in his own mind before he found it. Take a look at how he turns this into an and one chance.
Watch the ball handler and the body control, you know. He didn't flop. He took it right up into him, and he's going to get a chance at an and one right here.
Devontae Brooks connects on the NC 529 free throw. Well over 20 points to his credit. 14 rebounds. He has a double-double on the one side to match the double-double we talked about for David Ellis on the other.
You know, and coming out the start of this fourth quarter when Eastern Randolph came out and they looked up their fans, it was standing room only. They stood up and they were cheering for their team.
Speaking of Mr. Ellis, comes flying in there, though he's going to be whistled for on the back.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough call for the big fella, 6'8". He's saying, I didn't touch him, I just jumped over him. And we get a chance here to look at it, and he's getting an offensive board. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know. That's why they call it. We don't have instant replay or challenges in high school basketball, JP.
You get another glance at it to decide for yourself. 6.5 to play. That rims up, connects with the backboard, and about a heads-up play to try to throw that off the defender, and it'll pay dividends for Jamar Jones.
Yep, heads-up play there by the young fella.
All right, if you're looking at leaders, 23 for Devontae Brooks, 17 for Brower on the Eastern Randolph side of things. We talked about the double-double for Brooks. We'll update you on Wilson Prep after this.
Another turnover.
Into the hands of Devontae Brooks. Somehow controlled the body just to get a shot up. Remarkable.
That's amazing, JP. You see that on Saturday, you know, at the college, at the next level, and as well as in the NBA level. This young man has tremendous ball control and tremendous body control. And as we see him, He's taking the fight to him, and look at that. I thought he was going to try and yam it, but the coach is jumping, really hoping that he got a damn one. But nonetheless, this young man is probably going to get these two.
That was fitting for the review of Hawk Thomas right there, right? Loving what he's seeing from his team. Has to love that steal from Brower, which created as well. This will roll off the front of the iron, which is unkind.
Oh, unforced turnover.
Yeah, it's required some fancy footwork over there for Hawk Thomas of late. He stays out of the way and now tries to get his fans involved as trying to make that fourth quarter run. Eastern Randolph is powering back. They've done it once before in the game.
That's exactly right, JP, and they're praying for that Wildcat magic right here, right now again.
A little too short. Into the hands of Anderson. 3 ball, too strong. But
look at the big fella.
There is that length again of David Ellis. If this championship goes back to Wilson, North Carolina, it is going to be in large part, and I use that term intentionally, because of the size, heart, and effort that we have seen from David Ellis in this game.
You got that right, JP. This young fella he's on the boards. He's killing it. He's giving them second chance and look after look, and that's what you need in order to win a state championship.
Kai Eatman cannot connect on the NC 529 free throw. NC 529. Never too late, and certainly never too early to start saving for education. That's NC 529. Will not see either of them fall, and that's a big rebound and a couple of big misses. As down the left side and drawing contact is Leonard Eatman. Going to be whistled for the foul, and things beginning to turn all of a sudden for Eastern Randolph. Another trip to the NC 529 free throw line, this one for Pierce Leonard.
Yeah, and we see that they're taking the fight to him, right? JP, they're imposing their will, because that's what they did in the first half, right? They withstood the flurry from Wilson Prep at the beginning of that third, and now here they're starting to make their run. They're going to have to hit these free throws, though.
Third personal foul on Eatman. He takes a seat as he is out of the contest. 3 on Eatman. 4 obviously on Mentor. That's the one that concerns you. 3 on Jones and 3 on Hicks, who are still in the game.
Missed them.
Both teams not able to take advantage of key trips to the charity stripe, and that falls just short as the lane was there for the taking for Anderson.
And we see that Mentor's back in the game, and if you're Eastern Randolph, you want to go right at him. He's got 4 fouls, JP, so we're going to try and get that 5th.
Almost went down. You're right. Big storyline. Here's a 3 ball, won't go. Able to clean it up and lay it home is Devontae Brooks. He's been Mr. Everything for the Wildcats. They are now within 5.
Wow, there you go. And that's when they stood on the court at the beginning of the third and looked at their fans, and it was standing room only, JP. They're starting to impose their will and saying, hey, we're here. Let's go on and win this thing.
5:17 to go, 5-point game. That'll make a Wildcat proud. What they saw from this team, the fight that Eastern Randolph has shown. This is the second time in this game, Eric, that they have had to claw back from a double-digit deficit, and yet we're in a 2-possession contest.
And it's almost like they've been here before, JP. You know, they've only lost 2 games this year as opposed to Wilson Prep, who's lost 7. So they've been here before, right? And these young men are saying, you know, right now, if I'm Coach Thomas saying, hey, it's all or nothing right now. We can make this run, 2-possession game right now, 9-0 run in the last 3.5 minutes. That's fantastic.
You mentioned those 2 losses. They lost the opener to Southwest Guilford, 85-73. Lost to Southwestern Randolph, 75-66. Won every other contest this season for a 29-2 mark. They're hoping win number 30 is going to be the first ever state championship victory.
That's right. No, there's no panic in them. Even looking at the Wildcat, there's no panic in the mascot over there. These young men are poised and ready to play.
And let's hit the pause button for just a moment and say, what about the environment in this building right now?
It's lovely. It's intense. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. And these young men, they are not disappointing with this game, JP.
These 2 fan bases challenging one another with each trip down the floor. Here's a 3. Won't go for Mentor. Big-time rebound again for Ellis. And he tries to put this back. And they're going to get him for taking a step.
Yeah. Big play by Julian Brooks, number 10 there. He's making his presence felt on the inside, JP.
Well, that was after Ellis pulled down his 16th rebound. He has 16. Brooks, alongside that high point total, has 16. Trouble at midcourt.
Here comes the big fella, getting his steps right.
Give me your own. There's another. If you feel like you've seen it before, you have. Another jam for 10.
I love it. He grabbed the ball and he took it matters into his own hand, JP. I love seeing the big man hang on the rim.
But where there is an impact bucket on one end of the floor, there's an answer on the other. And the Wildcats staying right there, weaving through. How about laying that high off the glass?
Nice. He's got to be careful. It's not a charge, and he's aware of that. Oh, yeah.
Got to get a blocking foul called against Ellis here. And that's going to be his third personal, but he shows you his ability defensively, and you know what it turns into.
It's a big fella's dream. It's like a defensive lineman scooping and scoring or getting an interception and going in. He took it all on his own. I love it.
12 points. I'll say it again. They've been loud points. And alongside those 12 points, he has the 16 rebounds for a double-double. So the line on the other end is Taylor. Taylor connecting on his 4th point of the day as he awaits another NC 5-2-9 free throw. Remember, Taylor picked up a couple of early fouls. Now, he's still playing with 4, but has been a factor for this Wildcats squad, and he does a nice job at the free throw line. Nothing but the twine there.
That's right. You gotta hit these free throws coming down to the end game with just over 4 minutes to play.
Lead 5. Make it 7. Just a little touch from Brandon Anderson.
Ball skills, I love it.
Devontae Brooks.
Ooh.
They're able to take it away as they were trying at him from both sides. Minter stays under control, rolls it around and down.
They are not disappointing, JP. I love the pace of the game right now.
Sometimes we say drains a bucket. That was the definition of it, but just that quickly, the Wildcats have an answer.
Clock is in the favor of Wilson Prep right now, up 7. Minter steps out.
Boy, he tried that from the Wolfpack logo, wasn't to be. Left side of the lane.
Love it.
Right-handed touch from Pierce Leonard.
And right now, Wilson Prep, hey, they don't mind trading buckets going back and forth, JP.
They'll also take this turnover. Balance of this one coming up after the break. Well, coming up, we will be forced to select between all these prime candidates for the player of the game, brought to you by myspot.nc.gov. We will have your player of the game before the conclusion of this contest. But who wants it to end, Eric? This has been quite entertaining.
Ooh, yes, indeed it has, JP. And, just over 3 minutes to play right now. We're going to see if Eastern Randolph can close the gap. That's not going to help him.
Right into the hands of Jones. And he'll stay in control. A little too strong, though. Missed opportunity on a close bucket. Can they cut it to a single possession? Yes.
Yes, they can. Silky smooth, Mr. Brooks.
Devontae Brooks with 30 in the basketball game. And it's lost out of bounds to the Wildcats.
Just like that, JP. Just like that. It's a brand new ball game.
We could take the headsets off. You would still know these fan bases making clear their feelings about every single movement as we move toward the closing stanza of the 1A title game.
Yeah, if they sink a 3 right here and tie this game up, the roof may come off this place.
They're too strong. There's Brooks. Who else? Turns around. Contact but no whistle. And they'll battle for control of the basketball. Timeout was called for.
Heads up.
By Wilson Prep. What a heads-up play to call the timeout by Jamar Jones.
That's
right there.
That was heads up because, Ellis had painted himself in the corner right there. And Eastern Randolph, they were going out, they were ball hawking that ball. Heads up play by the young man.
And Eric, if you want a snapshot to take home with you from this basketball game, just take a look at the battle taking place between David Ellis and Devontae Brooks. And there's your snapshot from the 1A title game.
That's exactly right. Almost David and Goliath. You know what I mean? They are going at it, JP. Two great young men playing as hard as they can, trying to win a championship for their hometown.
Of course, in the size situation, David may be Goliath this time around. David Ellis has been so solid with that 6'8" frame. For Ellis, he has already pulled down 17 rebounds alongside 12 points. And if you didn't hear it, when we said it about Devontae Brooks earlier, and he also has a double-double. We'll throw that in parentheses for you. 30 points already in the game.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's fantastic. And he knew, like I said, in big games, big players make big plays. And you see these young men from these teams are putting it all on the line right now with 2:24 to play. Down 3 is Eastern Randolph. They're not going to be denied, JP.
Both those players have been playing for a while with 3 fouls, but it seems they've survived it. 2:24 to play, and in good shape as we head down the stretch, at least for now. And boy, are we in good shape. 73-70, everything you'd want out of a state championship basketball game. Happy to have you with us. Our broadcast presented by myspot.nc.gov of the 1A men's title game. Little stop, pop, won't work out.
Who's on the boards?
Guess who? And he will draw contact. Now, remember, Norwood was in the midst of that traffic, and he also has 3 fouls. This going to instead, it looks like, go against Carter, and that's just his second personal. So worked out as good as it could there for Eastern Randolph. And Ellis misses on the first.
Free throws are going to be vitally important, JP, because we're in the double bonus round right here, or at least for Eastern Randolph. And yeah, you're going to have to hit your free throws because it's going to come down to that end game and who can do that best.
Ellis able to connect on the NC 5-2-9 free throw. Back into the game for Eastern Randolph is Julian Brooks. Obviously, he will be shooting one more as a result of the violation on the initial toss of the free throw. And here is what is officially his second. It is off the mark.
Oh, wow.
But how about the cleanup? Jamar Jones, who had the heads-up play on the other end with a timeout a moment ago, is there just when it looks like Eastern Randolph is going to come down the floor within 4, and he makes it a 76-70 game.
Yep, it's doing the little things is where it's very important. Getting position on the rebounds. Brooks kind of lost sight of the ball and boxing out.
Foul as relentless pressure was being applied by Josh Hicks. And for Hicks, he picks up number 4. With 1:58 to play, it'll send Brower to the line. What a game Brower has had. If he sinks one of these free throws, he's got 20 points. And he does. 20 points in the contest. 6 for 12 from the field. And he also has pulled down 8 rebounds. He's a couple of key boards shy of becoming the latest with a double-double.
That's fantastic. And I tell you something, you know, at the beginning, I started this game, Brooks and Brower were folks, you know, 2 young men that we had our eyes on because, you know, 24 points or 23 and a half, I say, by Brooks. And Brower is right there.
Another offensive rebound, this time by Devontae Brooks. And the inability to take it back up. Looked like it might cost him, but it's going to stay on this end of the floor. And timeout is going to be taken with 1:56 to play. I think you were leaning toward the point that the playmakers have been as advertised here today.
That's exactly right. You know, as advertising, you know, we see Ellis making his presence felt on the inside on both sides. And he's, you know, he's altering shots on the defensive end, and he's giving them extra chances on the offensive end.
If they tell you in the summer that you're going to be on that March Saturday that's so critical to everyone, within a couple of buckets, one way or the other, of a state championship moment, you'll take it. And that's what exists for Eastern Randolph and Wilson Prep. It's a matter of who wins this final 156.
Yeah, and it's going to come down to free throws, JP, you know, because every foul you're going to get 2 shots, right? And so you have to capitalize on them. Just got to be careful who, you know, the ones that are getting those fouls, because, you know, keep in mind we have Mentor, he has 4 fouls, so he has to stay away from any kind of fracas, so to speak.
Hicks also has 4. Hicks, who has 16 points in the basketball game with 4, and then on the other side, Taylor, the only player for Eastern Randolph with 4 fouls. Whatever happens here, West Rowan and Rocky Mount coming up next, the 3A girls ranks. Falcons, Griffons getting ready to do battle. We'll have Bishop McGinnis and Charter a little bit later on, and then, of course, Central, Cabarrus, and Northwood in that 3A boys showdown to cap the night. What a day it's going to be at Reynolds. What a day it's been already. 5-point game with just under 2 to play.
Yeah. Oh, big play. That was a big play.
Came right off into the hands of Mentor, and he brings it up the floor. Oh, lost it. Devontae Brooks grabs the handle and lays it home.
Amazing ball control and body control by these young men.
The lead just 3. They tried for the 3 ball. Off the mark. Another rebound for Ellis. And Ellis contacted. All kind of energy there in this one. You see Ellis as he comes off, after he reacted, it looks like he's favoring that right arm and the neck area just a little bit before he gets set up for these free throws.
Yeah, and he's going to have to hit these free throws. I'm sure we're familiar with the term hack-a-shack. If he can't hit his free throws, he's going to be the target that they go for because it'll help keep him in the game.
There's one off the mark.
One miss.
Unable to connect on the first of the NC 5-2-9 free throws. That keeps it a one-possession game for now.
Looks like he's favoring that elbow, JP. It may have come down on that.
13 points and 18 rebounds. And for Wilson Prep, not quite as solid today in the free throw department as Eastern Randolph. It's +9 at this point in the direction of the Wildcats. They have to make these down the stretch. That makes it a 2-possession game for now. It's going to stay on this end of the floor with the Wildcats.
Yeah, and sometimes kids will get in their mind if they're down by more than 3, they have to shoot a 3-pointer. They don't have to. Big block by Ellis on the inside there. You don't need a 3-pointer right now. You just need to see the basket, the ball going through the basket.
That was Ellis on Brooks yet again. Brooks has won a lot of those battles. Ellis has won a lot of those battles. However, they've come out. They've been really fun to watch today.
That's exactly right.
Enough space to get a shot up, but it won't fall. And on the other end, Jones, key bucket as the lead grows to 6 with a minute and change remaining. Devontae Brooks down the lane, too strong.
And Ellis altered that shot, JP. He didn't block it, he didn't draw a foul, but he altered that shot.
We can talk about the 14 points for Ellis. We can talk about the 18 rebounds for Ellis. But his disruption, and you say, can there really be that much disruption with Brooks scoring 34? There still has been his disruption late in this game of the path to the bucket for Brooks that has been just as consequential.
That's right. See, great players are going to get theirs. We knew Brooks coming in, he's a scorer of the basketball. And so you just want to limit the other players on the team.
It's try and put it away time for the Tigers now. Won't happen on this shot. But to the line goes Jamar Jones, as he'll try to add to his 19-point total in the contest.
And that was on number 1, I believe, JP. That may be 5 for Brower. I'm not sure.
Well, Brower does pick up the foul here. That's just his second personal on the Brower side of things.
Gotcha.
Taylor has the 4. He's standing down at the bottom portion of the lane right now, and he's the one having to be real careful as we come down the closing stretches. And, Eric, that's 20 points right there having been knocked home as you look at the job that is done by Jones. He's the latest to 20 in the game. Now they scramble for it.
Yep.
Big takeaway.
Big takeaway from Ellis.
Time getting short, and that 3 would have been huge. Won't fall.
Oh, nice play. Heads-up play.
Brooks grabbed the handle and only lost it for it to be worked out of bounds by the Tigers. Take a look at how this worked out.
Oh, yeah. Look, they're ball hawks are going after it. Good attempt, ball handlers, heads-up play there by Hicks to throw it off of Brooks.
How did he do it? That was a no-look.
Right.
Timeout with 35 seconds remaining. And the contingency from the Wilson area starting to sense it just a bit. What would it mean for the hometown young man, Anthony Atkinson Jr., who grew up there, went to the Greenfield School to hone his basketball skills, decided to stay home at Barton College and play his collegiate ball. And then after a trip around the world with the Globetrotters, he's come back to try to lead this team to a second title all time. what a journey it's been, and the finish line, they're not there yet, but it is in sight.
35 seconds to go, JP, and Wilson Prep will be ecstatic. I'm looking across and seeing the fans right now. Everybody's on their feet. They're anticipating this win.
Well, now you just got to protect the basketball.
Yep, that's exactly right. Limit the damage.
To toss it in is Mentor, and an immediate foul as Josh Hicks is the recipient of the inbound pass, and it comes back to it. You heard us kind of brush over it a moment ago. This is a team that is 11 of 24, just shooting 45% from the charity stripe to this point. And they're going to need to make one or two of those to keep it from getting real interesting across the last half minute.
Yeah, it's going to come down to the free throws, because there's going to be quick fouls as soon as Wilson Prep gets the ball in. And they're going to have to get at that charity stripe and make every single one of them count.
Hicks 0 for 2 in that department. He's trying to add to a 16-point day. And there's the first of his free throws down. Make it 17 for the junior. Now, what it would mean to these seniors, Jamar Jones, Devin Newby, talked about Eatman across the course of the day. That trio of senior leaders that have led this team to a championship environment. They try and close it down. Will the second NC 529 free throw go to make the hill a little larger for Eastern Randolph to climb down the stretch? It will not. Last touched by the Tigers.
There's still hope. We've seen it happen, JP, but with an 8-point lead right now, Wilson Prep just simply needs to control the tempo, just kind of play within themselves, get the ball in, because they're probably going to get fouled very quickly, and just make sure they don't do anything silly on the defensive end.
I'm with you. Stranger things have happened in shorter periods of time in this sport and in this building over the historic decades in which it has hosted basketball. Blocking foul, and that's how it has to start, Eric. You've got to find a way to score some points with the clock stopped, and Eastern Randolph will get a chance to do so. Yeah,
12 seconds come off the clock, getting the ball down the court, so they're going to have to look at getting it down a little quicker in order to, because right now the clock is on the side of Wilson Prep, right? The more ticks come off, the easier and the happier Wilson Prep gets, and so Eastern Randolph is going to have to speed up getting the ball up the court.
Look who gets to try to add to his point total. The first one a little too strong. If he makes this, it'll be 35 points, 18 rebounds in the basketball game for Devontae Brooks. Can you ask any more from a young man who's been so solid all season long?
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. He's put forth his best effort. The entire game hadn't come out yet. And you like to see an effort like that be rewarded with a win, but somebody has to win, somebody has to lose, JP.
Ends up unable to connect on these two free throws, and they're starting to sense it. Those that are in the building wearing that trademark orange for Wilson Prep.
Yep. You see the fans, mamas and daddies, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters standing across the way and in anticipation. 21 seconds going down and the game being over.
Foul with 16 seconds remaining, and that's going to send Mentor to the line. Mentor, who to this point today is 2 for 2 from the charity stripe.
And they're starting to feel it.
You're beginning to hear them. First one good. He's 3 of 3.
Yeah. And this is where you step up. These are some of the biggest free throws in your career. It helps when you have a pretty cushiony lead, right? But still, you got to hit them, and, the writing's on the wall right now, JP.
Program won its first championship in 2021. Looking to come away with a second. A blink of an eye in many ways later. And they are inside of 10 seconds from the celebration. Oh, what an effort when you consider the way they started the ball game, the way they started the third quarter, and the way they closed things out down the stretch here in the fourth. Wilson Prep going to be a worthy champion in the 1A ranks.
And you got the senior in off the bench. That's awesome.
Devin Newby. And the exclamation point from Mentor Jr. The horn sounds. And Wilson Prep is back on top. A second title for the Tigers as they claim the crown. 84-73. They are your 1A champs.
That's awesome. And they flipped the script because Eastern Randolph came in averaging 81 points and Wilson Prep came in averaging 71, and they flipped the script on them with an 84-73. Congratulations to Coach Atkinson and all that community, that high school. Good job. Well done.
Now, these are the moments that life is made of, and certainly the moments that sport is made of as they celebrate a championship. You end up with 6 players who put together tremendous efforts to will you to a title that end up, when all is said and done, those 5 that are in double figures. You think about the rebounding that complements that. There are a total of 8 that hit the floor, and everybody on the roster celebrating right now. Eric, this was just a tremendous, tremendous team effort for a title.
Yeah, great effort. And you see that, Wilson Prep, they spread the wealth. All those fellas in double figures. And, it bodes well for the community, for the head coach, and the preparation that they had, like I said, starting back in late October, all the way through to March Madness. They cap it off with a victory here at Reynolds Coliseum.
Let's go ahead and show you our Talk It Out North Carolina play of the game.
Yeah.
You might suspect Ellis will be involved, and he's involved defensively and
look at that offensively. This young fella got his steps right, and that was probably his 4th or 5th dunk. The big 6'8" fella, he sized himself up, getting his steps right, and bam, the big fella hangs on for the win.
We will break away. When we come back, we will see the trophy presentation. It's going to be handed Wilson Prep's direction. The Tigers are your champions in Class A. Well, the numbers show you exactly what took place in a highly competitive Class A title game. Once more, all of our numbers throughout the course of the night brought to you by the U.S. Army. You can see how Wilson Prep salted away a title.
Yeah, and what really stands out to me right here, JP, fast break points, 25-8. I mean, they really capitalized on that. And, one of the most memorable fast break points is seeing the big fella, David Ellis, on the steal and dribble down and two-handed jam.
Be all you can be, the Tigers were. And that's a look at our points on the full for the contest. When you break them down just by virtue of points in the paint, the Riddle and Brantley points in the paint show you the advantage in the interior.
Yeah, and Wilson Prep, it goes back to, I think the big fella number 10 and him altering shots on the defensive end and giving his team second chance points, with either a tip out or getting a rebound. Big Ellis had 19 rebounds on the game, JP, and that I think that was the deciding factor in this championship.
All right, and now we'll turn our attention to the player of the game, and you talked about it, Eric, just a tremendous effort, team effort. You ended up with 5 players who were in double figures when all was said and done. Here's some of the looks of the contest for Jones. He ended up with 20 of those points, pulled down 6 rebounds, and had 5 steals. A tremendous performer here as you take a look at some of the highlights from his effort. As our take control, there is the myspotnc.gov glance at his night. You look at his effort, boy, I'll say it one more time. 5 in double figures. You get the double-double from Ellis, who was bodied up on Brooks all night long and ended up with 14 points and 19 rebounds. Just a tremendous effort as some of the hardware is handed out. But you have to really say about Wilson Prep that it was a complete team effort.
It was a complete team effort, led by the senior guard. And listen, JP, this young man that we're looking at right now, he could have been the MVP. There was so many different players, but you look at it, Wilson Prep, they're taking that championship home right now, JP. You got to love it.
Yeah, the guys in the truck having a great conversation, and we're batting it back and forth of, can he not also be the player of the game? I mean, you think about his effort, 34 points, 19 rebounds, and that's not to mention what he did all season long. Yeah. So that young man, everything you would have expected it to be in this environment, but this team carrying home a second title in the last few years, and they remind everyone that for the foreseeable future, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in these ranks.
You're exactly right, JP. Congratulations to him and the young man there, Jamar Jones, with 20 points. Yeah, you can't say enough about him. He pushed on offense, he pushed the pace, and he was back on defense as well.
Jones with 20. There's Hicks, who had 17. Anderson had 12. Ellis, as we said, the 14 and the 19 rebounds. And here's Mentor, who also poured in 15 points and stayed on the floor to the end with those 4 fouls.
With the 4 fouls, having to really balance, how he played on both ends and not, getting that 5th foul, man. Kudos to him and just being aware.
And there's a look at Barron, who also provided some valuable moments. Ellis with the double-double. Boy, every single player on this roster getting their name called. Edmond working his way back onto the floor. Just a moment that no one will ever forget. I have to ask you, as you watch these final moments where the hardware is handed out, what are going to be your takeaways from this title contest?
Oh, just the effort of these young men, on both sides of the ball. They gave it their all. We see them diving over tables, diving on the ground, fighting tooth and nail for every loose ball, every rebound, So just the overall outstanding effort that they gave, it speaks a lot to high school sports and what was the sportsmanship displayed here today, the effort and the attitude. These are the only things that they can control, and did a fantastic job.
You see the medals being handed out. They're going to honor the coach and present the trophy. We'll turn you over to PA for this championship ceremony for the Tigers.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, your 2022-2023 Ryan Basketball State Champions. For the state champion, the most outstanding player in the championship game, as selected by media representatives covering today's game, is presented to number 0, And now, ladies and gentlemen, the presentation of the Charlie Allen Most Valuable Player Award. As selected by media representatives covering the game, the award is presented to David Ellis. Once again, fans, a round of applause for the 2022-2023 State Basketball Champions, the Wildcats Tigers. We thank you for attending this year's North Carolina High School Athletic Association Basketball Championship. We ask that you have purchased a single game ticket for the 1A Men's Basketball Championship to exit the Coliseum in a timely manner to allow fans interested in the next game. Congratulations to both teams on an outstanding season. As you head home today, the Governor's Rival Safety Worker wants you to buckle up in the front and the back seat before heading home from today's Basketball State Championship. The Governor's High School Safety Program and the North Carolina High School Athletic Association remind everyone in attendance today to drive safely and say hi.
Congratulations in order to the Class A champions, the Wilson Prep Tigers, 84-73 winners over a hard-fighting Eastern Randolph Wildcat squad. Your final thoughts, Eric?
Yeah, congratulations to them in that community, in that high school. They fought hard. They prepared. They came in. They fought against some adversity, and congratulations to those young men. They'll remember this for the rest of their lives.
Speaks to the team effort, 5 in double figures. They win their second in a handful of years, 2021 and now 2023. The Tigers are your champs. Coming up next, we'll have the West Rowan Falcons. Rocky Mount, the opponent, coming up for you in the Class 3A Girls Championship game. Until then, catch your breath. Reflect on this one. It's the Wilson Prep Tigers back on top in 1A.
There was never plan B, just a path